Hi, I'm Sequoiah with Project Tree Collard in Grass Valley, California today to talk to you about what do you do when your tree collards bloom. This happens to be a merit tree collard, and the different varieties of tree collards bloom either not at all or very scantily or very heavily, and it really depends on your climate. So there are those that don't bloom at all. In my experience, purple tree collards are very scant. In Berkeley, they almost never bloom. Up here in Grass Valley, they're blooming quite a bit, which is wonderful for me to save the seed. And in Berkeley, my jolly green tree collards do not bloom much at all. And up here in Grass Valley, they're in heavy bloom this year. Merits are a little bit more scant. You can see it's not just chalk covered, not every stalk is blooming. So they're varying amounts. But the question I get the most is, what do I do with my tree collards when they're blooming? And the answer is you need to cut them. But the choice of when to cut them and why is kind of the key item. So before they send up these long leggy stalks, they make very small heads that have closed buds. They're not yellow yet. And those are like broccolini. So you can harvest those and cut them and cook them in a stir fry, which is wonderful. They're really yummy. It's basically like broccoli. And then eventually you're gonna not be able to keep up with that. It's just gonna want to make these tall, leggy, open flowered stalks. And by the way, tree collards, if you let them bloom like this, they're a wonderful attractant for bees in particular. Like in the sunlight out here, because I have so many brassicas blooming, they're just covered with all kinds of bees, like many, many species. And that's a delight. And I think other beneficial insects also come for the flowers. So I appreciate leaving them on for a certain amount of time just for the insects, because it's wonderful to give them that nectar around here in the mountains where there's not a ton of nectar. So basically you have choices of when to cut. You can eat it. Number one is broccoli. Two, you can decide, okay, I want to vegetatively chop the plant way back so that it goes into leaf production and back into making cuttings again so I can propagate and eat a lot of leaves this summer or whatever. And then the other thing is you can leave these on for quite some time, for months, until they form their seed capsules and they change from green or purpley green, depending on the variety, to brown. And when they're brown, you can cut them off and harvest the seed. So after I cut them off when they're brown, I put them in brown paper bags in a cool place for quite some time, so they can continue to mature and dry out properly before I actually crack all the capsules open. It's important to note that tree collard seeds are not true to type. This is because the Brassica family or the broccoli family readily cross-pollinate with one another. So these may be cross-pollinating with my merit tree collards, which are blooming nearby, or my neighbor's broccoli plants, which are blooming nearby, or their bok choy or their mustard greens. So they will not be identical to the parent, even though these are purple seeds capsules coming from my purple tree collard plant. They are not going to be identical to the parent. They will have characteristics of the purple tree collard plant. They will most likely be perennial and have some purple coloration and have a similar habit perhaps, but they might also have characteristics such as really spicy leaves like a mustard green. So you don't know exactly what you're going to get unless you happen to have 20 acres and are able to separate each variety that you're growing of the Brassica family that far apart. So right now, Maisie in particular would really like to show you how to cut your tree collard back. And here I'm going to do it for leaf production because I don't want to save the seed. So again, you're going to need to cut your tree collards back. It's just a matter of when. You can go ahead and save them for seed. You can eat them as broccolini, or you can do the major haircut as I'm going to do. So first thing is you just kind of, on the smaller stalks, you just kind of cut indiscriminately. It doesn't matter. It's basically like you're giving it a haircut. So here's a slightly thicker stalk I'm cutting. So I'm cutting back into vegetative growth. These have a lot of aphids on them, and it's going to be really a delightful treat for the chickens. So on something like this, I can see that there are some broccoli buds forming inside. And I don't want to keep having to cut this plant, keep cutting off flowers, every week or whatever. So I cut well below that. You can always cut more. You can't get the plant back if you cut too much. So sometimes it's nice to just cut a little bit and then look at it and say, actually, I see some buds in there where it's gonna shoot to bloom again, so I want to cut it back more. So I just removed some of the old dried leaves. There were some aphids on the flowers, which is normal. I tend to let the insect world be the insect world and invite its own beneficial insects to come in and kind of control the situation. Here, aphids are not a horrible, huge problem in carrying disease or causing huge problems in the garden. So I tend to let the soldier beetles and the ladybugs come and do their thing, and also birds come and eat them. So here we have a quite cleaned up merit tree collard plant. It may send up some more flower stalks because they want to bloom, and it's spring. It's late March, but it may just go back into leaf production and making cuttings for me to propagate from. Quick little close-up of the cuts I just made on the merit tree collard. Notice the purple in there because one of the parent plants of the merit tree collard is the purple tree collard. And here's another larger cut. They were easily done with the pruning shears. And here, and there's a skinny one. So here are the girls having a heyday, as you can see, on the aphids and the flowers and of the tree collard flowering stalks that I just cut off in their leaf press. I'll have a link to this video so you can see how I made the leaf press. And here are yesterday's flower stalks, so they really ate those down quite well and really enjoyed them. Very nutritious for chickens. And these collard greens are really high in calcium, amongst other things, and they need calcium to make nice eggshells, which is a wonderful little cycle there. For more information, you can go to projecttreecollard.org, where we sell tree collard plants, cuttings, and seeds. And please hit the subscribe button on my YouTube channel. It helps encourage me to make more videos on all things tree collard and homesteading. Thanks for watching.